All of these things are move away from run away from, keep some distance from. Talkative. Do you know any talkative? Have you met any talkative? Do you know any? So move away from. Yeah, make your own list of. They will break your heart. Yeah, they will slow you down. They will make you doubt yourself. God is working, so will stop you from seeing what God is doing. So move away from. These people will stop you from seeing what God is doing. So move away from talkative. Say, I'll write these things on talk.
All of this noise they're making on you. Teacher will get them when he comes. You have a race.
No time to waste.
No time to waste.
Time no day. Time no day.
So write these names of talk.
So write these names of talkers. Of talkers.
All of this noise they're making on you.
Teacher will get them when he comes.
Teacher will get them when he comes. You have a race. No time to waste.
Wow, such a powerful song by Pastor Bohan. A very good evening to you wherever you are. This is Gospel City. We are live on Faith Broadcasters Network. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And my name is Achiaa Favored. I'm a pastor at Holy Hill Chapel, Georgia. It's an Assemblies of God church. And I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to invite you to church too. So if you're in the Georgia area, do come fellowship with us as well. All right. So today we have a very important topic and that we're going to discuss. And the topic is ministry and parenting. And it's something that is so personal for me, not because I'm a parent. I'm not a parent yet, but I know that one day I'm going to get there. And so I'm here today to learn from those who have gone on ahead of me, ahead in that area, those who are doing ministry and also parenting as well too. We're going to learn about how it's like being, a pastor or being a minister and raising children, the challenges, the blessing, and how they're able to even do it, and how to do it even the godly way as well too. And so with me tonight, I have with me Pastor Vincent and Pastor George with me as well. And like I said, I want to encourage you to go ahead and share the broadcast. Do send in your comments as well. We're going to be reading your comments, sending your questions as well too. And I'm sure that the men of God will be more than willing and able to answer it as well too. Share this on your social media platforms, and you can tune in on Facebook or on YouTube. All right, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Let me go ahead and introduce my guests, Pastor Vincent and Pastor George. You are very much welcome, men of God.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Lady.
Thank you so much for... Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much for honoring the invite to come and share with us biblical knowledge on ministry and parenting, and also even from your experience too as well. I am ready to learn because I know that I'm going to get there one day. And so it's a blessing. Yes. Yes. I'm at full advantage here too as well too. So I'm going to start. Pastor Vincent has been on here before. And after you introduce yourself, I'm going to have Pastor George introduce himself. So tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll get the ball rolling from there.
Okay. So as our lady pastor said, I've been here. This is my second time. And I'm excited to be here. it's a pleasure to always share. I think I said it the last time that it's been quite some time, especially on Facebook and social media. I took a long break, but I think as the come back, and so this is a great opportunity to be back here. My name is Vincent Oppong. I fellowship with Christ Palace International Ministry here in Houston, Texas. I'm one of the associate pastors. Married with 2 kids. My kids' name are, are special. I have Seraph and Cherub, right? So
Wow, powerful.
those are the names of my kids. So I guess that's why I was invited to share my little experience for the past 7 years. I've been married for 9.5 years. I'll be 10 years in I think 6 months. I have 2 kids, 7 years and 5 years old. So
Powerful.
happy to be here.
Powerful. Your children have angelic names. That's very unique.
Yeah.
That's very, very unique. I love
Yeah,
that.
I decided to go that unique name. So
That's powerful.
amen. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for sharing that with us as well. Pastor George, please, can you share with us a little bit about yourself, your family, ministry?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's the first time I was on my way to church and I got a text from Pastor Kwame. Pastor Kwame and well, he was in church with us in New York and he left and went to Virginia. And we've been doing things, here and there. He had a podcast that I've been on and I've asked him to interview me I've written 4 books. He interviewed me on 2 of them actually, one in the local church and one online. So he texted me and asked if I can deputize for him today. I said, certainly. So that's how I got the invite. I know maybe after today, I might get a direct invite from from our host. But my name is George Kwame Acost, actually. Born and bred in Sierra Leone. My dad was from Winneba, Ghana. So I intertwined there. And I've been an Assembly of God member since 87. Came to New York City in 1996. I joined Ebenezer Assembly of God Church, and I've been with them ever since, teaching Sunday school and ministering. One of the associate pastors there. I taught Sunday school. I had been teaching Sunday school all this time. 2010, I won the Best Teacher Award for the entire New York District Assemblies of God churches in New York. So we've been in the ministry. I am married. I have 4 children. Unlike my co-guest, I have 4 children, 30, and the last one is 17. So
I see.
Wow.
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 Amen.
Wow. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I love that. I love that. So we can get, we can get how it is raising kids with Pastor Vincent, raising kids, from the young stage and then all the way up to Pastor George's children, that age range of 30. So I'm very much excited about that. And I'm glad to have you here, men of God, to share your experience and share some biblical knowledge with us too on ministry and parenting. So we're going to go right into our first question for the day. I want to ask you, men of God, that as a pastor and as a parent, how has raising your child or children be? And I want to start with Pastor Vincent with this one. How has it been being a parent, being a pastor, being in the ministry? and then also raising children?
Yeah, so it's an interesting combination. um, and let me digress a little bit. Today I was preaching at church and I talked about the fact that there are 5 important questions about life that everyone must answer, right? Either if you haven't asked yourself that question, you have either not been pressed with life yet or you are too young, right?
Oh my God.
And
Oh, looks like Pastor Vincent
It's frozen,
froze.
yeah.
Yes, I think it's. Oh, nice. You're back. Fantastic.
oh, I'm back. Okay. So did you hear the 5 questions or no?
No,
No,
please, can you repeat it for us? We missed
Okay.
you
So
on
the
that.
first, the okay. So the 5 questions are: Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What do I do? Where do I go from here? Right? Who am I? What do I do? Where do I
Mm-hmm.
come from? Where do I go from here? Right? So these are the questions that I believe that everybody is supposed to ask. And I brought that in to make the point that teach our kids some of these basic questions of life, right? Because we go to school and we get trained to become a doctor, a nurse, and all of those things, and we succeed because we have things, right? But these are very fundamental questions that nobody teaches us. It's unfortunate that even our parents who are raising us up have not thought about these questions. Some of them know, but probably they don't even spend time to tell us and to teach us, right? Questions, because we all come into time without any choice of our own. You did not choose the country, the family, the parents, the city, none of those things. You did not choose any of them. You came into time, and yet the one who brought you into time says that there is an assignment for you to be able to accomplish in order to be able to make it and to spend eternity with him. And yet, the very fundamental questions that will help us to be able to navigate through life, to be able to succeed and be able to get back to, nobody teaches us, right? So I believe that as a parent and as a pastor, for me, Vincent, I believe this is some fundamental things that I am looking forward to teach my kids. But for now, um, they tell me that daddy is always praying or working. So working or praying. So my experience, raising my kids, it's been exciting. It's been fantastic. I think growing up, I always said that my children will love me more than my wife. I know it's not fair, but I said that. Um, and the reason I said that is because I always felt like every child gravitates towards their mother, right? So the question is, what are we doing as fathers, right? That to go to their mothers more, and thank God I won that battle every time
Oh my
my
God.
kids
He
are.
said I want that bottle.
So I have a girl and a boy, but still both of them, usually they say, oh, the boys like their mom, the girls, but for me, both of them is all daddy. Even their mom will be there, grandma will be there, they will still skip them and come to daddy's office and say, Daddy, I'm hungry. I need.
Wow,
So,
that's a special bond.
so that's been my um, experience so far. I will let Pastor George come in on there.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that,
Yes, ma'am.
Pastor George. How has it been like raising, or how was it raising your 4 children all the way up to the
I know.
age that they are right
Everything.
now?
Yeah.
And you did mention that
And
you've
I
been in
did.
ministry since 1987.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a long time. And then also, I want to
Mhm.
guess that probably raising kids back in the day as a minister was might somehow be a bit different right now. You know, the dynamics might be different. Not probably not biblically, because the word of God is the same. But considering how technology has, shown up in our system and how the world is going, would you say
Yeah.
how was it like for you? And then would you say that it's is there any similarities back in the day and then now?
Well, I didn't. My first child was in the 90s. Then the second one was in 2000. So it's different in the sense that, but they were all born in the States. They were all born in the
Okay.
States. It's not like I was back there. It's slightly different. The pace at which technology has evolved is a lot more now than then. And so navigating through technology, which I think it's something in the one of the questions that we might deal with. It's more now. We got to pay more attention now than before. It's not like it wasn't there. It was, but those were like the first daughter was the initial stages. Those were the days of AOL and all of those things that people, you ask some people about AOL now, they don't know AOL was the champion back in the days for the internet. So, but anyway, like Pastor Vincent said, it's an interesting journey. It's quite an interesting one. You have the joys, the high moments and the low moments, and then you have sometimes somewhat disappointment, along the line. But I think to be an effective, I don't know if there is such thing as a best parent. There are best parenting practice and not so good parenting practices. But I'll talk on my experience, my personal experience, what I did with my children. My dad would call me Mister, and I'll call him by his nickname. So I probably picked that from him. He passed now. He would say Mr. George. And now he's my dad, and I'll say to him, Aki boy. That was his alias. Yeah.
I
And
like that.
and I was in the military, and one day my coworker came home. We were living in a duplex. I was by the door, and my coworker came in. Back in Africa, we don't have protocols. He just walked right in, and he saw me talking to an older man. And when I didn't stop what I was saying, and when I was done, then I introduced him. I said, "Oh, that's my dad." He goes, "Hey, you talking to your dad like that?" But it was not in a disrespectful way. Because me and my dad will have that kind of rapport. So with my children, I have like aliases for all of them. When they hear me call them by their aliases, they know things are fine. When I call you by your real name, you know you are in for something.
Intro.
And I do call them by their aliases, and I do call them by their real names as things go along. But I think the basic, we say parent ministry and parenting. I would want to redefine. I don't know if redefine is the right word to say, but parenting is ministry. We have
I love
ministry
that.
and we have poles of ministry or different ministries. Now, what I do as a father, I with my children, I do as a father. I don't do as a teach as a well. From time to time I teach. I bring this in, but I'm not a minister of the gospel or a pastor when I'm home, because in some of in the churches, pastors are on pedestals, believe it or not. That is why we it's hard for us to for pastors, some pastors, because what I do is I tell you the church when I teach, if it's for righteousness' sake, I am not too big to say I'm sorry. I mean, if I do wrong, I'm not big to say I'm sorry. But if it's for righteousness' sake, I would not say because I need you to grow. But pastors are in pedestals. We are spectacles. We are looked upon. The slightest thing you do, people will say. And that will come back if you're not strong enough to affect you. And that might affect your children because you want, if your child is doing something, what they'll say, they will not call the child's name. They'll say it's Pastor George's daughter. Pastor. So there is a lot of pressure. So when I'm home, I'm a parent. And I make sure one of the things that we do, like he said, I like that. He said, for now, the children say, Daddy prays and walk. The best way you can teach your children is passively. What I do is from time to time, when opportunity arises, I'll explain scriptures to them and I'll tell them, if I leave $1,000,000 for each of you, the thing I want you to treasure the most is Jesus. I give you Jesus. He is everything. Money is, and I let them know that I love them. I think love wins a lot more. You would not want to disappoint the person that loves you, that have shown you love. I think most of the time when what we do as parents is we back a lot of times, and the children get used to the backing. They pretend they're hearing you, you're not. And so what I do is I interact with my children, play with them, joke with them, teach them, uh, tell them the importance of life. When it is necessary for advice, I'll give them counseling. That is what I, so it's interesting. Sometimes, of course, they're children. They do things out of the way that you wouldn't like. And what do you do? So I'll stop for now. Then we don't take all the time.
Wow, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Parenting is ministry. I love that. And I agree with you when you said that when you're home or when you're in the house, you're not a pastor, but you're a father. And that's something that I've always told myself too, because being, a woman in ministry myself, one of the things that I have at the back of my mind is that I may be a pastor, but in my home, in the near future, in my uh, marital home, I'm going to be a wife and a mother, and not necessarily a pastor. And I think it's very, very important because it will help the kids relate with you um, better, if for lack of a better term. Yeah, it has a role to play in it, so that they wouldn't see you as, oh, daddy or mommy is a pastor, in church, and then when we come back to here too, it's like I'm relating to my dad and mom as, oh, pastor this or pastor that. But to be able to say that my dad is a pastor or my mom is a pastor, but it's my mom, this is my mother, this is my father, and to have that relationship, it's very, very, very important. It's very, very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
My next question that I have and I want to ask is that, um, being in ministry, Pastor Vincent, I'm going to start with you on this one. I know that as a pastor, you do go to church with your children on Sundays, midweek service, and any other service that the church might be holding. I want to find out, has there ever been a time where your kids say that, Daddy, I don't think I want to go to church today with you? If yes, how did you handle it?
Hello.
Oh, okay. Let
Yeah,
me ask. I think you froze a
yeah,
bit there, so
yeah, yeah. I didn't catch it. Yeah,
you didn't catch it. All right. Let me.
yeah,
Yes, I was saying that being a pastor, um, I know that you go to church with your children, your
yeah.
boy and your girl. You do go to church with them. Has there ever been a point where any of the kids said, "Daddy, today I don't want to go to church today"? Has there ever been a time like that? And if yes, how did you handle it?
Yeah, I think this one I'll pass it to Pastor George.
You want Pastor George to go first on this one?
Yeah, yeah. The reason I'm saying that is my kids are too young to make those decisions, right? Um,
Okay.
5 and 7, they have little choice, right? I guess they love it at this point, right? As kids, they when they go to church, they get to play with their friends and all of those things, so they're excited to even go to church. But the joy, because having teenagers and all the way to 30, then you will encounter a situation where they will say, "Man, I'm not going to church today,"
Okay,
right?
that's true.
Yeah,
But that's absolutely true. But you would be surprised to that, in a home where both
yeah,
parents might be, not necessarily even pastors, but they might be Christians, all right. And
yeah,
the kids might not want to go to church. And most of the time it's
yeah.
because maybe dad goes to church but mom doesn't. And so it's like, no, I don't want to go.
Exactly,
I want to stay home with mom.
exactly,
Or mom goes
exactly.
but dad doesn't go you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
and so that was
yeah,
why, like, and it
yeah,
it happens with, I feel like it happens with children with any age at all, of course, when they're babies, but one of your kids is 7.
yeah,
You did mention that 7,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So they're
yeah,
knowledgeable about that, but I'm glad your
yeah,
kids, at this point, you
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
experienced that or anything like that.
Like
Yes.
you said, right? I believe that those things will come up because of how the parents are, right? Like you said, either one goes to church, the other doesn't, or something in that kind of line. And so the kids know or have seen the not going to church part of Sundays, right? But for some of us as a pastor, all they've known, at least for their entire life, is we go to church on Thursdays for weekday service and we go to church on Sundays, right? So even on Thursdays or Sunday, if we don't go to church for whatever the reason is, maybe we have an event somewhere or something like that, then they're like, "Oh, Daddy, why didn't we go to church? Why are we not?" Or if mommy has to work, they'll be like, "Why is mommy not going to church?" Then I'll be like, "Oh, mommy has to go to work, so that's why she's not coming with us," right? So in my
Okay.
based on the environment in which they've grew up in, um, church is, you know basically a part of their life at this point, right? So um if they say they I think it's happened once, with my son at 5, right? And the reason is just because he's upset about something in the morning, right? Like, I don't want to go to church.
I think he froze. I think Pastor Vincent froze again.
Yeah, I think
At
he has.
All right, Pastor George.
my
Oh,
case,
looks
yeah,
like he's back.
yeah. In my case, I haven't. Yeah,
You haven't experienced that. Okay. The line is trying to mess up, but we move in the name of
I know.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Amen.
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 Well,
Pastor George, I want to come to you.
mhm.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I want to come to you with that because you have older kids, older children. Um, let's when you were raising your kids, or let me ask it this way. Pastor Vincent did mention that it's usually with the teenagers when they start to become a bit more independent, who sometimes maybe say that I'm not going to church with you and stuff. When our children gets to that age, or when a child gets to that age, or if a parent has a child who is around that age, the teenage years, where they don't want to go to church, with your experience, what would you say is the best way to handle it?
Well, personally, I had not had such encounter, thank God. Not because I'm super or smart or anything. I think Proverbs lay it out all for us. 22:6, train up a child. Like that's why I said I piggyback on his statement that for now they know daddy walks and go to church. That is their life, like he said. Church is part of their life. Sunday they're looking forward to go to church. And one of the things that I do is I try to be as transparent as I can with my kids. They don't know every nitty gritty. Things that I know they should not, it don't help or spoil anything. But like your failures, you don't be a champion loading it. Matter of fact, I teach the youth in the church, and it is said each time they try to move me from there, both the parents and the youth will say no, let him stay. I've been teaching them over maybe 15 years, and I will tell them there are flaws. We're humans. We're not superheroes. So from that approach, I take them. I've never had an encounter wherein one would tell me I'm not going to go to church. And when it comes to that, in their early stages, we get them ready. When they becoming a little bit in the teenage part, teenagers, they like to sleep late. Only thing, I'll rough them up in the morning, banging their doors. We gotta make it time, time, time. We gotta be there on time. So when it comes to that, and then sometimes I tell them, I have a name. I say, you want me to take that name? The local pest, which would mean it's something that I'll do to them. If, like I said, go read your book or go do the dishes, oh, I'll do it. And they don't. I'll come to you 50 times and tell it to you until you do it. So they don't want me to wear the local pest. But so that, a strategy, and I use it. I've been successful so far. I don't use it very often, and they don't like me using it, so they comply. But again, coming to answer that, I will just give a theoretical or what do you call it? What's the other word for hypothesis or something like that?
Hypothesis.
Yeah, I mean, like a scenario. I'll just create a scenario.
Okay.
Say the child tell the dad or the mom, I don't want to go. Rightfully, like he said, maybe one of them is slacking. All right. The children they pick up. Like I said, I teach the youth, and I asked them if their parents had sat them down to lie. When I want to tell them that we adapt sin. Sin is a nature that we adapt. When you're born into the world, wherever you're born into, that culture you pick up, nobody teaches you. And so when we are born into this world, we're born into the sinful world, nobody teaches us to lie. So I was asking them that, trying to drive my point through. And then one say, oh, our parents are the ones teaching us to lie. Because because they see you doing something and then you denying it because of XYZ. So they copy, they see those things, and
That's
they see it as being hypocritical. And if somebody starts seeing you like that, the for lack of better terms, the respect in that area diminishes. So
That's true.
if you tell me, yeah, if you tell me to go to church when you engage in doing this and that, and you denying it, what use is it to me? Like I said, that's why I try to be transparent. Tell them, listen, I'm human. Sometimes I'll do things that I'm not supposed to do. I don't like plan on doing them, but sometimes in the nick of time, I tell them, so they know. And I think that is one of the things, not only as parents, maybe as ministers, we let the congregation know that we ourselves were not what you might think. We are this upright people that would never touch sin, would never sin, and that will put a burden on them. So I think if the parents if we can come to like that, sensing the example, it's not like you slack and say, because our people say, oh, we're humans. We're humans with intellect. We're humans with reasoning power. We are humans. God had given us, they say, all that pertain to life and godliness has been given to us. It's up to you and me. So you balance how you teach them. Don't teach them, oh, because we are humans, we'll sin. No. He said, if you confess your sin, he's faithful and just to cleanse you from all unrighteousness, just breaking it short. So if you're cleansed from all unrighteousness, it means you can walk righteously. So you balance that, but give them room to see that you're doing your level best to follow the Lord. And I don't make it burdensome. Somebody, again, like before I close, one of the youth asked my oldest daughter, does it force you to read the Bible? She said, no, I don't. I let them know it is important to read. And I let them. Because if you force them, that's me. I'm not saying you should take what I'm doing. If you force them, they will do it because you're there. Will it make them better? No, you're doing it because you're there. Give them room, reason for them to know. When they pick this book up themselves, you've won it all. So that's how I've been doing.
Yeah.
Very
On
lovely.
that, let
Very
me
lovely.
let me add something real quick.
Sure.
So yeah, I 1,000%, agree with what Pastor George said. I think it's the examples, right? Making it very real. I say this, in so one day my daughter asked me, asked me a question. Do women pray?
Wow.
Yeah. I think I got you.
You get it,
Is
right?
it full?
Exactly.
I
I
think
do.
Right.
I got
Yeah.
you too. I think I got you too on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
So it's the example, right? So I talked to my wife and my mom, and I was like, you see, you have to let the little girl see, right? Don't just, excuse me to say, not just show forth. We are just all in the same house, right? Let them see that you engage in that aspect too, because to her it looks like it's only men who are supposed to do that um, work, right? And so I think one thing Pastor George said again, it's like it's not the backing, right? I don't back. I've already told you their years or their age. When you come and you see me talking to them, it's like I'm talking to some grown-ups, right? We reason together,
I love
right?
that.
I don't talk down at them. Nope, I don't do that. Um, so one day I was upset, and my daughter, um, after some time, I kind of raised my voice a little bit. And so I called her to my office and I said, I'm sorry for, raising my voice at you. And she's like, no, Daddy, I understand. I get it. I know I was being naughty. That's why. And whenever something goes wrong, I know you always let us talk. And I was amazed that she gets that I talk to her, right? And so that day she gets that, okay, she was probably a bit too much. That's why I raised my voice, right? So I just wanted to add that to it, that sometimes we just want to, we feel like we are grown-ups, right? Especially from our African culture. And so a kid is a kid is a kid, right? But then we forget that no, they are not. They are human beings. They are gods, just like we are, right? The nature of God is in them. And so they get it. Maybe some of the stuff, like Mr. George was saying again, you think they don't understand it, or maybe even at their age, you might think they are too young to get it. But as time goes on, you will see that they will start replicating the things that you've been talking about and engaging them in. So it's the spending time and showing them that love, right? I think as parents too, sometimes we feel like it's all about that, but it's the playing. I think the reason why I've won that my battle is because I play with them a lot. Like this evening after church, whilst I was eating, my daughter was like, "Oh, Daddy, when you finish eating, can we go and jump in the trampoline?" I said, "My goodness, after I finish eating, when I'm full, then you want us to go jump? Let's go jump now." But it's hot outside, anyways, right? So it's that spending time with them makes them even listen to you more because they know you love them, and so whatever you are telling them is out of love.
That's very true. What I am gleaning out of this for for myself is taking me back to the 5 questions that you mentioned at the beginning when we started.
Okay.
And everything that God says in his word is it's true. It's evidence. When you read Proverbs 22, where the Bible says, train up a child the way that they should go, so that when they grow up, they will not depart from it. The training, to me, this is the understanding that I'm getting from it, or the revelation, is that the training is a seed that is put into the children. So, and the training involves our actions too as well. And that's where what Pastor George mentioned, said, comes in. So there's that part where you're training them that, hey, know who you are. This is who you are in Christ. You're a Christian. You're bought with the blood of Christ. And then all that. And one of the things that a Christian is supposed to do is what? Is fellowship. And going to church is what? Is one of the fellowship. And so when a child going back to, the 5 questions that she said, when a child knows who they are, having fellowship or being in fellowship in the church should not be a problem to them, or they shouldn't question it at all, because I know who I am, and I know the reason why I should, go to church. Not just only when I was a kid, but even now as a teenager too as well. And then of course the second thing too that you mentioned too is that my parents are not only telling me, but they're also backing it with their actions. And children really watch. They watch more than I would say they even listen to us. What they see parents do, it ministers a lot to them. And so the training of a child in the way that they should go, it becomes a seed that it's deposited into them. And so as they grow, regardless of where they get in life, whether a teenager, a young adult, or what, it becomes a seed that grows and it keeps them grounded. So this is what I am, gleaning from this. Thank you very much, man of God. I want to take some comments from here. Lady Ursula says, going to church is not a question for discussion. Laughing out loud. Yeah, not in our house. It's not. And then she also said church service is not optional in our home. It's not. So it's a must. It's something that, yes, her kids are actually have to go. All right. So I'm going to take our next question. And, we live in an era where the internet has become, a huge part of our lives. And I want to ask, how do parents guide their children in the use of the internet, because on this same internet you will find things that are good or biblical, and then you find things too that are not godly. So as parents, how should we guide our children in the use of the internet, so that as we are teaching them in the way that they should go, there wouldn't be any chance of they also drifting off because of social media or because of the internet? I want to start with Pastor George on that.
Thank you. Again, like I said, I think that our baseline, underlining factor is Proverbs 22:6. You train the child. Now, seasons change. You ask if it's slightly different back in the days as to now. And I mentioned AOL. By that time, internet had begun, but you have dialogue. I don't know how many of you remember that. And then you get connected to you can hear things like those. But now it's everywhere, everywhere. Even the mobile companies have hotspots that they went out and so the internet is accessible, especially in the United States and other developed countries. Now, when you've trained your child and they know the essence, their work, who they are, like Pastor Vincent had posed those 5 questions. They are grounded. Would they sway? I think they might, or they more 90%, 98% of the time, they would sway. But that seed, like you said, the training is grounded in them. At some point, let's deal with the worst case scenario. A kid stray, got internet involved, because when these things are new, they see it as life. Especially if, now we gotta be very practical here. Your child can be going to church with you. You're teaching them, they're growing, and at some point, they would, in their teenage years, they have friends, they're mingling. Even though they know the word, their commitment probably might drop. We're dealing with the worst case scenario here. And they're not all that effective in ministry or in their Christian life anymore. But now they're covering, they're pretending. Yeah? And the internet, maybe they got influence. But the basic that you're giving to them, if they would stray, at a point in time in their life, the prodigal son or daughter will happen again. They would see the emptiness because you've taught them that. You've let them know that regardless of what, it might not resonate at that moment that you're telling them that everything is empty. There is no substance in these things. They know that. They keep it in the cache, in the back of their mind. Sometimes it will come to the front. Or you made mention about when you have something in the back of your mind, Pastor. Help me out here.
Vincent.
No, not Pastor Vincent, our host.
Oh, Nanecha.
Pastor Nanacha. You said you have it in the back of your mind. I would say to you, try navigate it to the front of your mind. It might take some time to come to the front. So I get it so that I want it to be in the front of their minds. Now, that is the basic training. What you would do with the internet, well, I happen to work in IT. So I can choose to streamline the amount of time when they're home. I can set my network to go off air at certain time. I have access to their phones. I don't take it and look at it or question them, but I let them know I can look at their phones. And check with what they do, know who their friends are. It's not, again, you have to have the kind of rapport, because when they are in that zone, a little, sometimes even big rebellion, it can be a rebellious thing for you to go. Now you paying the rent, you're feeding them, you're paying their phone bill. You want to look at their phone, they tell you, no, it's my phone. Well, I'm paying the bill. I think there are boundaries, and these things must be discussed. I see open dialogue as the best way. Maybe not for everybody, but for me. Because I tell you the pros and cons. Again, I'm not expecting it to hit the point, but the reason I tell you is for it to be there. There's always going to be that presence. So at the time when it's needed, you have a resource to tap into. So that is what I'll do. And for parents that are not technologically sound, the first step is to know. You might not know the nitty-gritties of it, but know the basics. When I started studying computing, the book, the introduction was, in the future, when they say somebody is illiterate, they do not mean is not literate. It's not with books. It would mean they are ignorant about the internet and the ways of the internet. This is where we live now. We live in a global village. So if you don't know your address, meaning you don't know nothing about the internet, it's scary, especially raising your kids. So we should make the effort. And I think as ministers in our various churches, we should propagate that. Have a social media ministry, we do. And one of the things we do is we try to teach the people about the pros and cons of the internet. And we did it this last time. And matter of fact, I had wanted a full week before the pandemic hit. I had wanted a full week to teach, that let them know that this is where we are. And so when you know that, you will help the children. Like I like that he said he doesn't back. I think you have a fine group of ministers today, because when they simply they think, but then when it comes to business, it's business, because I balance it out. And so this way you're able to drive your message in. You're able to sit down, reason, and tell them. Will they stop right away? I'll give God the glory if they do. But if they don't, it don't mean they're gonna get dragged. They'll have boundaries already because you saying it. And then eventually they'll get it and they will not go extreme.
Wow, that's loaded. That was loaded. Thank you, Pastor George. Thank you, Pastor Vincent. You have younger kids. So I want to ask you, how are you guiding your kids in the use of the internet? Because with the same internet, there are VeggieTales on there. The same internet you can find the story of Elijah, the story of Moses on there. They are like godly and biblical stuff that they can learn from as well. But that same internet too, now you have like shows that is supposed to even be PG-13, but they're doing stuff that it's not appropriate on there. And so with that, how are you guiding your younger ones in that area?
I have already seized their tablets.
Firstly,
Yeah, so I've seized their tablet already for months now. Anyway, so like Pastor George said, right? It's so when they were growing up, I always taught my kids from home very early, right? So I have specific shows that I let them watch from very early. So I'm blessed that they are always ahead of their class. My daughter can spell any word, right? So I'm saying all that to the point that she can Google anything at her age, right? She can search anything that some of her age groups cannot even search. So, like Pastor George said, their tablets were Kindle Fire, right? So with my Amazon account, I'm able to put parental controls on them. So I remember a few years ago, um, they can only log in when it's 10 a.m.,
Okay.
right? And before 10, you can take your tablet, but you can't do anything. You cannot even open it, right? And then by 8 p.m., um, it logs out too. You can open it. But they only have, I think I was giving them 4 to 5 hours of screen time at that point, right? So within that screen time, I had broken it down 3 hours for educational and the rest 2 hours for anything fun, right? So when you spend all your 2 hours watching the fun things, you try to go to a fun page, YouTube or something, and you cannot go there, right? So I had those regulations in place. So a quick story. One day we went for a friend's naming ceremony, and one of the Sunday school teachers were like, "Man, Pastor V, my daughter and your daughter are the same age, right?" I said, "I guess. How old is your daughter?" He said, 7. I said, "Wow, your daughter seems so matured, than my daughter. Can I bring my daughter for training?" And I said, "Are you sure?" Because even till now, she has specific times of watching TV or anything online, right? And it's like, I see why, right? And I think as parents, what we do is, especially with our busy schedules here in America, we give these tablets to the kids for our own convenience,
That's true.
right?
Very
We give
true.
it to them so they will not bother us. We can focus and do our own thing, maybe work, maybe our own. I just need some time to sleep. We all do that sometimes, right? But then, um, for me, what I have learned so far, and I guess based on um, my experiences as in studies, right, based on my academical background, I don't play with this thing here, the mind. So I always say I'm not going to allow anybody to program my kids for me, right? Because what they are watching is what is programming them. And so you think you are a pastor, you are praying, you are doing all of that, but then, or you are a Christian, you are doing all the prayers, you are praying for your kids, you are doing all that you know to do on the spiritual level, but psychologically, somebody somewhere in thousands and 10,000 miles is the one who is training your child for you, right?
I see.
My daughter loves Miraculous. I don't know if anybody knows what Miraculous is. It's some kids show. It's pretty much like this superhero thing, right? So I spent time to watch with her, and because I wanted to understand why she likes it, right? And the whole thing is about this evil guy who tried to, they call it akumatize. So he will akumatize you, um, and then you go do some evil things for him, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I sat down, and as I was watching with her, I was asking her questions. What does the akumatize means? And she will explain it. Who is this and who is that, right? And so I asked her, do you understand what the akumatize is, or what the whole thing about this? And she just looked at it from the superhero part, right? So I tried to explain it that this bad guy, he is actually a good guy, but he turns into this bad, and he uses people. How he uses people is when you are upset,
Hmm.
right? So when you are aggravated about something, no matter what it is. Maybe you may be in your home, you are upset with your mom, your dad, since it's kids, right? Or you are upset with your friends or things like that. Then he sent this butterfly, and when the butterfly steps on you, you get akumatized, so you become evil, and now you want to do bad things, right? So then
Mm-hmm.
I use that to explain it to her that, you see, the whole point of this show is to let you know that you don't have to get upset about things, because once you get upset, the enemy, which is the devil, can use you to do evil things, right? You will hurt your brother, you will hurt people, you will say evil things and all of those things. So my point is that sometimes we have to be in the trenches with them, right? To be able to see what they are seeing, and then find the best way as a parent to twist, because the brain of a child is a slate. You can write whatever you want on it, right? So twist it and give them the understanding you want them to have. That's my whole point, right? That's what I did with this social, because if you give her the tablet or TV, that's all she'll watch. Miraculous. She can sit there and watch it like episode upon episode and go back and still watch. So if you are not careful, if you are talking to her, that's all she will talk about. And that, did you know, Adrian is now what it is, those kind of things. So I had to go in there and say, like, man, what is this miraculous that you are so soaked up with, right? So getting there, understanding it, and bringing my own interpretation, which is in line with what is going on, right? But trying to give her a different perspective to think about whenever she is watching that, right? It's a very, I believe, it's a very important aspect of it. So, in summary, dealing with this whole internet and our kids, we don't, again, let's be very honest, right? Sometimes it's because of the freedom that we want for our own self, we let them watch, right?
Mhm.
Um, but then we have to also come to the place of, like Pastor George said, understanding some basic computing knowledge, right? And be
Mm-hmm.
able to guide them. For me, it's parental control, right? I use it on all their stuff, right? On the TV, I have the remote in my office. If you want to watch, you got to come and ask for it, right? Again, because I know my kids, especially my daughter, she would watch that all day, right? All day. And so I have to be able to monitor the screen time and guide her in the best way possible, so that somebody somewhere will not be training my child for me. When they are old, you will think you did a great job, but what you missed was that somebody else was at the back end creating the way your child will be for you.
Wow. Thank you, man of God. I'm gonna take some comments out here. Dr. Harrison says we let the iPads occupy and teach the kids instead of spending time with them. Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you also said, Pastor Vincent. And Lady Ursula said, I learned something from that kid's show. Interesting. That's very, very interesting.
So I
And
guess her kids also watch it, right?
yes, I'm guessing so too. Yes. She
Yeah,
says he used people's emotions as a weapon
exactly. Yep.
to use you to destroy your
Yes.
offenders. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So our final question here is in regards to corporal punishment. Now, I want to know, does corporal punishment play any good part in shaping the character of a child? If yes, how so? Pastor
Who
George?
is going as a
Okay,
judge?
I will. What's the, it's spare the rod and spoil the child, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I guess that's
Um,
saying.
you see, like I said, if you recall, when I was saying I have two names, I call them, for the most part, and when I call by their name and like with a little zest to it, they know something is up. And I think I'll be honest with you. I like Pastor Vincent's methodology because I do the same thing. I'm not a perfect man. Uh, my daughter said, I told her, don't turn the lights on. You're wasting the electricity. Keep it, let's try to show them. And one day I came and I called her, and then she came. I said, sorry. And I give her a spank. I said, for what? I said, go to your room. She went to her room. She's confused now. She came back out. Why do I go to my room? Because the lights are, no, the light's not on. And then I said to her, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I did see like the light was on and, I could have, because and it was not like beating her and, just, and it was something I did wrong. So I said, I am sorry. I didn't act parental there because I think one of the other things he said another thing that I'll piggyback on. He said we think they are children. And so we are entitled to treat them like children. No, they're humans. They are in our care. What I said to the children I teach, the youth I teach, or my children too, I said to them, God is organized, right? God is capable of dropping us one by one, and then we fend for ourselves. I said, but no, he's organized. He creates a unit and calls it a family. He gets a father, a mother, and children. Now, the father has a role to play. The mother has a role to play. The children have a role to play. And once you all play, now I tell them, if your dad says a deadbeat dad, doesn't mean you should disrespect him because you are not doing it to him, you're doing it to God. I teach the kids that, So most times you have parents say, I brought you into this world and I'll take you out. I dare you, please try. See what the Lord will do to you. But children are given to us. That's why I said it's ministry. It's our responsibility as parents to do our role and shape them in such that they will be godly children. He said, I know Abraham. He will teach his children. So corporate punishment should not be dictatorial. Let me explain what that means. I am your father. What I say, you do it. And if you don't do it, there is no love, there is no teaching, there is no nothing, there is just command back. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not doing any good job. You're messing your child's mind. And they'll develop that, and that's how you see this thing spreads down. But once you get them, from time to time they will be rebellious. They're children. We adults we make blunders. So how much more then? So if you like use the cane or not excessively, you gotta tell them why.
Yeah.
How interesting is it that we parents will beat the children and now they cry and you ask them why are you crying? Well, what do you expect me to do? Throw a party? No, I think it depends. I think it depends. Yeah, if you gotta do that, it's because you want to discipline the child. And discipline is not only punishment, it's correctional. It's something to correct, to let you know that what you're doing is wrong. And if you don't stop it, this that you're getting, I remember I was talking to my daughter when she was, I sat her down and I starting to talk to her about sex and things like that. She goes, "Oh, I'm embarrassed." I say, "I'm glad that you are, because this embarrassment is way less than if I don't talk to you. Things happen, the embarrassment that you will face. So please, let's have this embarrassment for now." So you talk to them, even if you beat them or anything, not abusively. You got to tell them why.
Wow. Tell them why you're using you're beating them
Yes.
or
I,
hmm.
I don't think it's when you're doing the bidding, because that they're not gonna hear at all. Maybe after when things cool down, then you say, "Listen,
Uh,
this is what happened. If you keep doing this thing, what you receive, that 6 strokes, 3 strokes, it's nothing to what you will get if you keep going down that path."
wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I want to take a comment from Dr. Harris. He says, doing it reasonably is good for the child. Spare the
That's right.
rod and spoil the child. Interesting.
Yeah.
Pastor Vincent, I'm going to come to you next. But before that, Proverbs 23, verse 13 says, withhold not correction from the child. For if thou beatest him with a rod, he shall not die. This is King James. Wow. For a minute, I thought it was a message. It's a message that
Proverbs
usually,
what? 23.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm right there. 23. Uh-huh. And 14
the
say, "You
verse
shall
number,
beat." Go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see. Verse 14. Okay.
Huh?
yes, and it
Look at
says,
14.
And to deliver his soul from hell.
the 14 says, thou shalt beat him with the rod, my God,
Yeah.
and shall deliver his soul
Deliver his soul from hell.
hell.
Yeah. What does the psalmist say? "Thy rod and thy staff."
Thy
Mm.
staff comfort me.
Yeah. How
So
how is
that
the rod comforting?
So, Pastor
yeah.
Vincent, I want to ask this. So, does it mean that the rod of correction is always rod as in beating the child, or there are different ways to go about it and to get the effective results that you're looking for?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I believe that you let me add, since we are already reading the scriptures, let me add more to it. Let me add more insult to injury. So Proverbs 13, the verse number 24 also say, he that spares his rod hates his son. Let me take the NIV. The NIV says, whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them. So that's the
That's
word
another
there.
heavy one.
Careful to, what's that?
That's another heavy one too.
Exactly, right. It's careful to discipline. And now then we go to Hebrews, the chapter number 12 and the verse number 6. He says, for whom the Lord loves, he chasteneth and scourges every son whom he receives. So he says, verse 7, if ye endure chastening, God deals with you as his son.
The son.
For what son is he whom the father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. My goodness.
My
Yeah.
goodness, what a
Right?
scripture!
So yeah. So back to your question. Um Chastisement is good. And like your question, should it be like beating and all of those things? I would say that it depends on their age. Age is a huge factor, right?
Okay.
When I think for my son, I haven't really whipped him much, but but for my daughter, you know, I think my son saw when he was growing up, he saw how I disciplined my daughter. So I think he is a very, honestly, I'm not because he's my child, but he's a very, very, what word? I don't want to say good, but he's a very disciplined. When you tell him do something, he does it. Like he doesn't like go outside it, right? My daughter, you
Okay.
tell her something and she will try to, do all those gymnastics and things like that. But my son, if you tell the two of them to do something, you are sure that my son will do it, right? So again, I think he saw the discipline with my daughter, right? And so I think he learned that quick, that man, if I misbehave, this man will, whip my butt. I have my nice way of whipping you. Like I just flip your, like that. Not with a rod or something, but I'll flip your ear or something
Yeah.
or your cheeks, right? So, because they are young. So I have my own way of disciplining them, as in spanking, right? And the fact that they know that I have something, I say that we are human beings. I think I've said that already, that um, when we do something, innately we feel bad, right? I don't think human beings are that bad, as bad as we think we are,
Yeah.
right? Innately we feel bad, right? And so with a little flip like that, you trigger the tears. You know what I mean? You trigger the tears, and the remorseness in them to come out, right? Sometimes it's just like I'm going to, and just like that, right? They see that, okay, I did something wrong, and they begin to cry, right? So again, I believe that it's not the way we grew up, how we grew up back in Ghana and Africa, where they can take bankuta and just knock you, right? Those were more like more like I don't know which word to use, but those were very hard, right? And also, again, some of our parents did not know the difference between you growing up, right? And
Mm.
yet, although you are growing up, they still want to treat you as a child. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where the rebellion begin to come out, because nobody wants to be a child forever, right? And so at some point you begin to feel like, you know what, if you're not going to treat me as a grown up, I'm going to prove that I am a grown up, right? And the rebellion begins, and all of those other gymnastics and things begin to to come up. So for me, I believe that yes, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. But I have one scripture based on what I just said, in the book of where did I think I thought I opened it here, in the book of Ephesians, let me open it here. Ephesians, the chapter number 5. It says that parents don't, it's Ephesians, the chapter number 6. Number 6. It
Mm-hmm.
says, verse 1, chapter 6, from verse 1. He said, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment. That it
With
may
the
be
best.
well with your soul. My verse 4 is my point. Yeah. He said, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
Yeah.
That's
Right?
it. That's
Provoke not your children to wrath. Right? So as a parent, we have to understand the dynamics of And for me, again, the foundation for me is that if you see your children as human beings made in that image and likeness of God, just like you are, you will treat them with all that respect, right? You treat them with that respect. And besides that, you build them up to the point where they grow up and they will, one, respect themselves, and two, demand respect from other people. Sometimes as parents, we look down on our kids so much that when they grow up, they feel intimidated, they feel they don't see any wealth in themselves. No wonder they are timid, and they allow, especially as the women, right? They allow other men to look down on them and trample on them left, right, center, and everywhere, right? Because even as parents, you did not put any value on them. They were just your children, right?
Mm.
Again, even though they were growing up, you did not treat them as old, as adults, right? So please, I guess that will be my last final words to that. Please, let's treat our children as human beings. And I know I'm using that word intentional, right? You might say that, of course, I know my children are human beings, but the way you treat them tells otherwise, right? The words you use at your children, and you wonder why when they grow up, they are struggling to become something. You have cursed them with your lips all their life growing up. You say so many harsh words to them that they feel so emotionally broken, right? That they don't see any wealth in themselves. Please, they are human beings. They just did not choose to come into your house. God chose you and did you a favor. You were in a prayer camp crying out to God for God to give you a child, right? God did you a favor and gave you a human being. How honorable can that be? Gave you a human being to take care of and to raise up. Somebody made in the image of God so that that person can become that express image of God. It is an honor for me. And I take that with all respect to be able to raise them up, for them to know that they are special and they mean the world, not to me, but to God. Amen.
Amen. Very powerful. That was a lot. That was a lot. Thank you for um, sharing that side too with us too as well, because I believe it's all part of the parenting process. It's all part of it, and not just parenting, but godly parenting process. So thank you for that. I'm gonna take a comment from Dr. Harrison. He says, "Western wokeness is ruining the lives of our children. There were a few times I was whipped while growing up, and I believe I turned out well."
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Interesting.
the whipping, we are not saying we shouldn't. I whip my. I just told you guys, right? I whip my kids, right? But it's a whipping of love, right? I'm the
Yeah,
one that
that's
whips
true.
them the most. I'm the one that plays with them the most. I'm the one that they love the most. I'm the one
That's
they
true.
Yeah.
listen to the most. Right? If everybody says and they don't listen and they say when daddy comes, why? Because I believe that at the core of their mind, what they are thinking about is not that they are afraid of daddy. It's because they will miss out on daddy's love.
That's true.
That's the best. That's the best route. I think I said it earlier. I said you would not want to disappoint somebody that had shown you love,
Who loves you?
that had
That's
shown
right.
you care. So
Yeah.
a piggyback backing on what he said, parents, that scripture, I use it a lot myself. Do not provoke your children to wrath. There is one thing with us, parents and humans as at large, until you get to that point when you realize that, and then you start, that doesn't mean you would eliminate that. You'll start thinking more before you act that out. And that is the entitlement that we all
Mm,
carry with us. Parents think they are entitled to demand everything from the children, so you disrespect your child. I remember, I'll bring this in as an example. This man is not even married to the lady. They know at my work, you go to my desk, you see Bibles and everything. They know I'm. And so he came to me, oh, is there not a place in the Bible where it says the woman should respect the man? I say, yeah. I said, but do you see the verse before that? He said, no. I said, okay, read it. Respect each other, you know.
We
So
pick and choose
it
which
is
one we want, right?
just one woman submissive. So we have that entitlement. And Pastor Vincent said, talk to your child so that when he or she goes out, they will demand respect. I would change that a little bit. If I'm demanding respect, my understanding is I'm asking for it. No, I say command. You command respect
Exactly.
in the sense
Mm,
that the way you carry
right.
yourself, people will
Exactly.
respect you. And
Exactly.
Very
that
true.
is like what that you say to them. One preacher preached in the church some years ago. He said this lady came up to him after he had preached. He said, Pastor, am I pretty? Well, that will take any pastor aback. Why
I
would
know.
a lady come to me
Why
and
do I
ask
tell you you are pretty or not?
your mind will start racing? So, but he said, yes, you are. Why? He said, my dad told me I look like a man all my life.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Now, I do Facebook Live. Right now, it's coming close to my time. Most of my introduction is words are powerful. Words are what make the world go round. My dad never knew my mother. They met, somebody said something, a family is derived. God spoke the world into being. Words, especially believers, the words that you say. I keep telling believers, don't pronounce thing on people and don't curse your fellow believer because you curse him you. They say, curse me upon anyone that curseth you. I could care less if you're a Christian. If I pronounce curse on you, I'm just cursing myself. We have to understand the dynamics of words and use them adequately, appropriately. Somebody say, if you know the word will work for you. Use the word because Jesus himself said, for every careless word, Pastor Vincent said it correctly. These children are created in God's image just like you. So what makes you think you're entitled to treat them anyhow and not to raise them right? That's why I said it's a ministry by itself. It's an awesome, awesome responsibility. So the words we use should be one that season them up so that they will be ready for the future in society when you and I are not there anymore.
That's right.
Very,
Thank you,
very
sir.
true. Thank you, man of God. I thank you for bringing that part, Pastor Vincent and Pastor George. I believe is an eye opener for every parent out there. Knowing that your kids are or your children are not just um, tiny human beings or people that you have that so much control that you can just treat them anyhow, but also knowing that these are they're gifts from God, and anything that God gives you, you have to handle it well. They're not just gifts, but they were created in the image and likeness, just like how we were also created in God's image and our likeness too, because it's the same kids who will grow up and become adults one day too. And so the words do go a long way as well too. And that's something that I can relate with too. I don't joke with words at all. Recently, I was helping a family friend's son out with his maths homework, and somebody came around, and the person was like, "You can't do this, this small math problem. Even my child who is at this age." I didn't like that. So afterwards, when the kid was not around, I had to, respectfully go to the adult and be like, and I explained it to him that I really wish he didn't say that, and that he should be mindful too, because the kid might even think that maybe he's dumb. for lack of a better,
That's true.
word also.
Mhm.
But that's not the case. I was the one who was helping the child out. And I noticed that he understood the concept, but sometimes he missed out steps too as well. And there's just, it doesn't help for you to come in with such comments, because it really registers a lot in their head as well too. And we don't want to raise kids who will end up also growing up and treating their kids or raising their kids in a negative way, just because a grown-up said it to them, that just because their parents or a grown-up told them that, oh, you can't do this, or you're not good because of that. No, we don't want to raise kids like that. So yes, that's very, very important. I'm so particular about that too as well too. Yes. And I just wanted to add this. I remember, I think all my life, my dad has given me a whooping once, and it was over. It was over homework. This was in primary school, because back in, and this was in Ghana, back in the day, for me, when I was going to school, it was because I was going to play and play with that's like my main motivation for the school, is that I'm going to meet my friends and play ampe and just other games, and I'll come back home like it's just and my dad does not joke with anything books, anything, academics. And he really gave it to me on that fateful day. And I remember it, and it made me sit up, because before that, my dad had never, had any reason to use a rod on me to give me, a whooping or a spanking. But because of that, I ended up getting it. And it helped me out. It made me sit up and realize that, hey, sister, you need to take your homework seriously. So yes, I would also say that corporal punishment, it helps out to a greater extent, or to some extent too, depending on the situation at hand as well too. Thank you so much, men of God. Thank you for the biblical knowledge. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us too, as well too. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to I'm going to take a comment here. Pastor Francis says, I'm pet lover. I know people who loves to play all day. Oh, that was me back in primary school, and then I had to snap out of it at a point. All right. Thank you. So it has been amazing time discussing this topic, ministry and parenting. And I just want to say that this is not just even only for people who are in ministry, not just for pastors or ministers, but it's for every parent, especially, Christian parents, that you do ministry and parenting and you do it the right way. And I believe that we have all learned something, and we're going to either make changes or add on, and it's going to help our kids to grow up to be the children or the adults that they're supposed to be. Thank you very much. So next week we are treating a topic on why pastors' kids rebel. That's another heavy one, because I know that sometimes there's pressure on ministers to have their kids behave in a certain way, and sometimes it's not always the case. And we want to talk about it. We want to talk about some of the possible causes. We want to talk about what pastors should do in such case. And so do join us next week as we dive into this topic. And I want to say a big thank you to Pastor George and Pastor Vincent for joining us today to come and discuss with us and to share their knowledge, their wisdom, and their experience too with us as well too. God richly bless you, man of God. And a big thank you to my producers, to Pastor Francis, Dr. Harrison, Lady Ursula, and to all our viewers for tuning in tonight. I want to encourage you to keep sharing the link. Share the link on Facebook, share it on YouTube, because we have other programs, different topics on FBN, and also even throughout the week too, that will help edify you. It will build you up, and it will help you in your Christian walk too, as well too. I have learned a lot. Like Pastor George said, I'm going to move what I had at the back of my mind to the front of my mind. Yes. So I have it in front of me too, and just journey along with it as well too. Thank you so much, man of God. And to our viewers, do join us next week, same time, 6:30 Eastern, as we go into the topic on why pastors' kids rebel. God richly bless you. And then until we meet next week, may the Lord God keep you and your family, and may he cause you to find favor with him and favor with men. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
It's like my favorite song on this album, y'all. It's no secret in our world, people like to talk the things they know and the ones they don't. They will spread lies and rumors just to be known. So why are you wasting your time like this, hearing those things that break your heart? Give no attention, give no thoughts, 'cause people talk, but they'll never help you walk. So whenever they speak, look up and you will see a broken pencil and a sheet, and tell them, say, I'm writing names of talkatives. Yeah.
All of this noise you're making on me. Teacher will get you when he comes. I have a race.
No time to waste.
No time to waste.
I'm writing names of talkatives.
I'm writing names of talkatives.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
All of
9.
this noise you're making on me.
Teacher will get them when he comes.
Teacher will get you when he comes. I have a race.
No time to waste.
No time to waste.
There are many voices in this life, and to be honest, many are not nice. So don't hear something and pick a knife, 'cause most of these things are nothing but lies. Teacher said, be careful how you hear, 'cause there are talkatives here. They're everywhere. So silence the voices in your head and give no attention to your fears. I'm writing names of talkatives. Da 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 da.
All of this noise you're making on me.
Da 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 da.
Teacher will get you when he comes.
As for me,
I have a race.
no time to
No
wait.
time to waste.
I'm writing names of talkatives.
I'm writing names of talkatives.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Teacher will get you when he comes.
I